The average retiree household in the United States spent $61,432 in 2024. That is over $5,000 per month. Not in Manhattan, not in San Francisco, on average, across the country. Most retirement calculators ask how much you make. Very few ask how much you actually spend. And the gap between what people plan for and what they actually spend in retirement is one of the most common reasons retirement plans fall short. So stay with me because in the next 10 minutes, I am going to show you exactly where that money goes. The three categories that consume the majority of every retiree's budget. Three phases of retirement spending that most plans never account for. And five hidden costs that consistently catch retirees by surprise. Let's go. Let me start with what the data actually shows. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics Consumer Expenditure Survey, households led by someone aged 65 or older spent an average of $61,432 in 2024. That breaks down to approximately $5,119 per month. Now, here is what is important to understand about that number. It is an average. About half of all retiree households spend less than $2,000 per month. About a third spend between $2,000 and $4,000 per month. And roughly 19% spend more than $4,000 per month. Your number will depend on where you live, whether you own or rent, what your health situation looks like, and whether you have active plans for travel or leisure early in retirement. But the $61,000 figure gives us a realistic baseline, and it is significantly higher than most people expect. Now, let me walk you through where that money actually goes. Three categories: housing, healthcare, and transportation consume more than 60% of the average retiree's annual budget. No. Let me take them one at a time. Housing is the largest expense for most retirees. Even if your mortgage is paid off, property taxes, homeowners insurance, maintenance, and utilities continue for the rest of your life. On average, Americans aged 65 and older spent $18,872 on housing in 2024. That is roughly 30% of the average total budget. Many retirees assume that paying off the mortgage ends their housing expense. It does not. For renters, the situation is more variable and often more exposed to inflation. A rent increase of $300 per month is not a minor inconvenience in retirement. It is $3,600 a year from a fixed income that cannot simply earn more. Healthcare is the expense that tends to grow the most during retirement. In the early years of retirement, for a 65-year-old today, average annual healthcare spending is approximately $7,799. That includes Medicare premiums, Part D drug coverage, out-of-pocket costs for visits and procedures, dental, vision, hearing, and any supplemental insurance. Here is what most people do not factor in. That number grows. As you age, healthcare costs typically increase faster than general inflation. A retiree who plans for $7,000 per year in healthcare at 65 may be spending $12,000 or more at 80, and that does not yet include long-term care. The median annual cost of a private room in a nursing home now exceeds $100,000 per year. Healthcare is the one budget category where underestimating can have the most severe consequences. Transportation is the third major category. Even without a daily commute, retirees spend an average of $9,538 per year on transportation. That includes vehicle ownership, insurance, maintenance, fuel, and for those who stop driving, the rising cost of ride sharing and public transit. Now, let me talk about something that most retirement planning conversations skip entirely: the 80% rule and why it misleads most retirees. The 80% rule says you will need about 80% of your pre retirement income to maintain your standard of living in retirement. It is a useful starting point. It is not a reliable finishing point. Here is the problem: the 80% figure was developed as a broad average. It does not account for your specific housing situation. It does not account for healthcare costs, which for many retirees represent a far larger share of spending than they did during working years. It does not account for the fact that early retirement, when you finally have the time and health to travel and enjoy yourself, often costs more than your working years. And it does not account for the three phases of retirement spending that research consistently identifies. Let me walk you through those three phases now, because understanding them changes how you build your budget. Researchers and financial planners often call the three phases the go-go years, the slow-go years, and the no-go years. The go-go years are typically the first decade or so of retirement, roughly from age 62 to 75. This is when you are healthy and active. You travel, you visit children and grandchildren, you pick up the hobbies you never had time for. Spending during the go-go years often equals or exceeds pre-retirement spending. Many retirees are surprised to discover they are spending more than they did while working. The slow go years typically begin in the mid 70s. Travel becomes less frequent, physical activity decreases, discretionary spending on entertainment and leisure declines. But healthcare spending begins to rise significantly during this phase. The net result is that overall spending may actually stay flat or decrease only modestly. The no-go years, generally the late 80s and beyond, often see discretionary spending fall sharply. But long-term care costs can spike dramatically during this phase for those who need it. A plan that funds only one level of spending throughout retirement will almost certainly be wrong for at least two of those three phases. Now, let me give you 5 hidden costs that consistently catch retirees by surprise. The first one almost everyone underestimates is taxes on retirement income. Withdrawals from traditional IRAs and 401ks are taxed as ordinary income. Up to 85% of Social Security benefits can be taxable depending on your provisional income. Capital gains, dividends, and RMDs can all push your effective tax rate higher than you expected. Retirees who plan their budget around gross income numbers rather than after-tax income often find they have significantly less to spend than their plan suggested. The second surprise is inflation's compounding effect. A 3% annual inflation rate doubles prices in approximately 24 years. If you retire at 65 and live to 90, the groceries that cost $100 today will cost approximately $200 by the end of your retirement. A budget that does not account for this will fall short, predictably and progressively. The third hidden cost is dental and vision care. Original Medicare does not cover routine dental or vision. For many retirees, annual dental costs, including cleanings, fillings, and crowns, can run $2,000 to $5,000 per year out of pocket. Vision is similar. Glasses, contacts, and the increasing risk of age-related conditions add costs that most pre-retirement budgets never factor in. The fourth is home maintenance and repairs. Homes age along with their owners. A roof replacement, HVAC system, water heater, or major appliance can cost $10,000 to $30,000 at a time when you have limited ability to earn more to cover it. Building an emergency fund specifically for home expenses. separate from your general retirement emergency fund, is one of the most practical steps any homeowner can take. And the fifth hidden cost is the lifestyle gap. Many people plan a modest retirement budget and then discover that the retirement they actually want costs significantly more than the retirement they planned. Travel, supporting adult children or grandchildren, moving to a higher cost of living area to be near family, pursuing passions that turn out to be expensive. These are not irresponsible choices. They are simply choices that were never priced into the original plan. Now, let me give you a simple framework to build a budget that actually reflects your life. Start with your current spending, not what you think you spend, what you actually spend. Pull 3 months of bank and credit card statements and add up every category. Then adjust for retirement. Remove work related expenses, commuting, work clothes, lunches. Add the costs that will increase: healthcare, leisure, travel. Then stress test it. What does your budget look like if healthcare costs rise 30%? What if you need in home care for 2 years? What if you live to 95? A budget that survives those questions is a budget you can actually retire on. $61,432 per year, $5,119 per month. That is the average. Your number will be different, but now you know what the real numbers look like, and you can build a plan around what is real rather than what you hope will be enough. So, if this video helped you think about your retirement budget differently, please share it with someone who is planning for retirement right now. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video. Stay safe and stay protected.